Need to call the meeting to order. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to call the meeting to order.
Do we have a second? All in favor? Okay, you will stand with me for the prayer. Bruce will lead us in the prayer, and I will lead us in the pledge.
Remove our hats, please. Lord, we come to you, Lord, thanking you for another day of life that you blessed us with, Lord. Help us to remember, Father, that everything that we have is yours. Father, we pray that as we meet here this morning, that we'll pray for wisdom for the decisions that will be made here this morning, that what will be best for the city, Lord. Father, we pray that all things may be done according to your will, Lord, and we ask, Father, that you'll keep us on that narrow path and forgive us of our sins. We pray for a home in heaven with you. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. If you will turn with me for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council meeting rules of procedure are here on the table if somebody would like a copy. And there's a copy of the agenda also. Parking ordinance amendment. First reading. An ordinance to amend the parking schedules of Chapter 72 of the Code of the City of Blue Ridge, Georgia, to provide that Chapter 72 of said code is stricken in its entirety, and the new Chapter 72 providing for restricted parking shall be substituted in lieu thereof, to provide for certain restricted parking upon the streets of the City of Blue Ridge, Georgia, to provide for penalties for violation of the ordinance, to repeal conflicting ordinances to the extent of the conflict, to provide for severability, to provide for an effective date, and for other purposes.
I'll make a motion, we approve the first reading of the parking ordinance amendment.
Do I have a second?
I'll say.
All in favor? All opposed? Approval of paving bids.
Okay, we've got our bids in for the paving for the streets throughout the city on the first phase of it. We got Johnson Paving at $232,000, and Caldwell Construction for $435,876.34. Roy had met with both these, and they both had the same list of things to do. So I'm gonna make a motion that we approve or award the bid, the street paving bid to Johnson Paving at $232,000.
Okay, one bid says 13 roads, one says 14. I don't know if that right.
One says that 13, I don't.
15 items reduced to 13 on Johnson. On Caldwell it says job name 14 various roads.
We both had the same number to begin with, and they both deleted 2 roads.
But one of them says they bid 14. Do we have the road list to attach to these?
Yes.
Do y'all want to see that before you finish your motion? It says 2 different things.
Well, it's $200,000 difference in price. I trust that Roy's got the street, I mean, the list that we multiple times have gone over. So Roy, I mean, if you want to.
I have no questions about it.
Okay.
I think it's just a typo.
Richard is here with Johnson Paving if you have any questions.
Yeah, hey Richard. Yeah, it's not really his that I have a question on. I just don't know what their other one was supposed to be. So if it was Highway 76, that might make a $200,000 difference. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know.
We have a motion.
It's the same, yes.
So do we have a second motion?
No, second.
All in favor?
Okay, and I wanted to talk about streets also, but I wanted to listen to something first. Rodney, if you would
This is the video, that Rhonda had made, and Angie wants to. go
I
ahead
think,
here.
I think that we need to all hear it and then we need to address the questions that was asked.
Oh, I think you certainly should hear
Okay,
it
all right.
and know why you took that street
Yeah, well,
off.
I've got it.
Blue Ridge City Council. I'm actually live on Davis Street, one of the primary streets that's used as more of a connector between Ada Street and West First. It's a highly traversed street. The city, we've gotten numerous requests to get this street fixed. However, 3 council members, Angie Arp, Bruce Pack, Rodney Kendall, they refused to work on the street. The motion was made by me at the last council meeting to get this street repaired. To no avail. Didn't get a second on it. As you can see, sitting here in just the last few seconds, we've had 3 cars go by. But what I really want to show you is the condition of the street. It's the worst ranked street in Blue Ridge. But, you know, although we're concerned about citizens, they're not actually doing anything about it. But let me show you the street and get your thoughts on what you think needs to be done. But here, this is where the
Now,
street
please pay attention to the street, because this is the worst street. These people shouldn't have to live like
because
this.
it needs curb and guttering, it keeps washing away.
Please pay
This was
attention.
done several years ago. You can see the driveway going in to 200 Davis Street. It's practically washed away. They're having to put bricks over their driveway just to access. And that's just a drop in the bucket as to what's going on this street. You can see the 2 levels there again of pavement where it was paved several years ago. But that's not going to fix it. It has to have curb and guttering. Now, right here, have you ever seen a pothole or cracking that bad? There's a car coming right now, so let's get out of the way. So here we go. Down Davis Street again. Yeah, I've gotten complaints from so many people that I had to put this on the list. It's horrible. And all these folks around here, including myself, I have a building there at the end of the street, we pay city and county taxes. But yet our road looks like this. This is the area at the 4-way stop where it continues to be cracked, and even the sides over here are caving off. And yet nothing's being done. Cracks continue, and of course all the gravel's washing out. A few minutes ago I was standing here and the car got stuck over
I'll
there.
second
Of
that.
course, they were trying to go the wrong way and realize that. But anyway, everything is
I
cracked.
think everybody here's probably seen
Sides
it.
are caving off.
It's had over
There's
5,000
For these
views.
folks, it's just not right.
Okay.
Here we go. Here's some more. So, my question to Angie, Bruce, and Rodney, why did you guys not second a motion to get this fixed? And Angie, why did you take this road off the list to be paved? Now, it could be also because Ms. Arp is in a lawsuit, or was, with Ada Street LLC, which is located right there. But you know, even if she has personal feelings against them, she shouldn't let the residents on this side suffer because of that. This is Rhonda Thomas, just giving you an update on what's going on in Blue Ridge. Contact me anytime if you have concerns or questions about anything going on in Blue Ridge, and especially things like this that could easily be corrected. Thanks.
Okay, so this is my video. I will explain this.
No, ma'am.
This is,
Ma'am.
oh, no.
We're gonna,
This is
we're
my
gonna take it. We're
my
gonna take-
video, and we are going to, I'm going to talk about it.
I'm gonna make a motion
I'm-
that I speak first, and then I will allow you to speak. I make a
Oh,
motion
you
that
will allow me to speak?
Yes, the
Oh,
council.
well, isn't that very sweet of you, Angie, to allow me to speak?
We're not gonna go here. I make a motion to allow me to speak about the video that I wanted this council to present, or to present to this council. I make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
I'm in favor. I want you to speak.
Okay,
I want you
all
to
right.
answer those questions.
Ms. Thomas, I respect your opinion and your right to freedom of speech, but I personally think that your criticism of the 3 council members was without merit and was not warranted. Bruce and I have worked and planned for the past 3 years for East Main Street repairs.
Just you and Bruce?
And for the
Okay.
past 6 months for street repairs throughout the rest of the city. We've had the support of this council, and we finally completed the East Main Street that's been needed to be done your entire term. We've been very forthright about our concerns and plans for all streets, even though neither of us were elected to oversee the street department. We've taken it upon ourselves for the good of this city. With little or no attempts or support in the past 7 years to take any action toward repairing East Main Street, even knowing the condition was damaging cars due to large potholes, and even knowing there were many incidents of people falling and getting injured due to the potholes and poorly patched areas. Ms. Thomas is now taking a bold statement for repairing Davis Street. Ms. Thomas should have shown as much concern for all city streets, not just the demonstration concern for Davis Street, certainly since she was elected to the street department post. Bruce and I were not elected to this department, but we have both spent hours, days, weeks, and months working and planning for street improvements throughout this city. I'm going to address your comment, Ms. Thomas, or your question as to why the council didn't second your motion. The answer is the council didn't think we should go to the expense of hiring an engineer before being completely sure it was necessary. This street, as many city streets, doesn't have curb and guttering, so should the council take your word that it needs it now? Since city drains and ditches have not had proper maintenance for years, it should be as simple as cleaning the drain ditch out and repairing the street. Also, this council is reluctant to taking your word, Ms. Thomas, regarding city business. The record reflects your word often is not factual, and your word has resulted in costing taxpayers thousands of dollars at a large price. We've learned to do our research first. Also, Ms. Thomas directly asked me, Angie, why did you take the road off the list to be paved? Now it could be because Ms. Arp is in a lawsuit, or was, with Ada Street. Even if she has personal feelings against them, she shouldn't let residents suffer because of that. The answer to why Davis Street was taken off the paving list was the same reason West 1st Street was taken off the list. Since Bruce and I have been working and planning for street repairs for months now, we decided to get the bid costs for all the relatively minor street repairs first, and wait until after we found out what their cost was before we started on the streets that would require more extensive work. The plan was, once we received the bids for the bulk of the street repairs, we would work toward other streets such as Davis Street and West 1st Street, as well as any other street we may have missed. We've planned to get as much street work done as our budget would allow, beginning with the streets we thought were priority. So, Ms. Thomas, also you made the statement that I may have paved this street because of personal feelings against 8th Street. My response to that is the only personal feelings relating to council member or a council member in 8th Street was your personal desire to help your campaign support at the expense of the taxpayers. You testified on behalf of 8th Street and against the city and fellow council members. And the court ruled there was no evidence of personal dislike for any council or any 8th Street member on my behalf. But the lawsuit trial did find that you to be untruthful, and that the only person that could be charged with dislike for someone was the dislike that you professed under oath in court to have for me. Isn't this video just another demonstration of your personal contentment for me and this council, rather than your concern for the residents and one street in the city? This is the only street that I recall that you've had any concern with since I've been in office. Ms. Thomas, you also mentioned that you thought it was unfair of me to deny paving Davis Street because you claim I had a personal issue with 8th Street members. But the record reflects that you had no concern for these same residents that you're professing to have concern for on Davis Street when you supported commercial encroachment into this residential neighborhood, which resulted from your support of a lawsuit against the city and the council members, resulted in costing the city thousands of dollars. So lastly, Ms. Thomas, could you explain to this council why you felt compelled to make this video criticizing all of us when you didn't even know the facts relating to the subject, and you didn't even bother to contact any of us to find out what our plans were for this street.
I have one comment. Ms. Arp has been called a liar on the front page of the paper by one of the commissioners. She also admitted to lying on the stand. She admitted it. So let's get the court documents and let's see who the liar is. Because Ms. Arp, you are a liar. I'm sorry that the truth hurts you, but the truth is the truth. So if it hurts, you know, accept what you've done wrong.
The subject
And you know what? You have cost the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they will all see it.
The record
In
stands
time,
for
they will
itself.
all, and remember, you're the one who admitted lying on the stand. When they kept questioning you, you admitted that you lied. So
are you
so
through?
we'll pull that up.
We're way over
And
5 minutes.
I
You
agree.
said what you
The
need to say.
transcripts
We're way
tell it
over
all.
5 minutes. She failed
Angie,
to do it.
the
so
truth
we're ready
hurts.
to start
If
the
the
music.
truth hurts you, you know,
The
that's
subject's
your.
Street. What?
Okay,
So back
if the truth hurts you,
We're gonna just tell
Davis
this
Street,
meeting unless we stop this conversation.
if the truth
Point
hurts
of
you with
order.
Davis Street, that is my way of
It's
expressing
your
my
opinion.
opinion.
Okay, we're
So,
done.
We respect it.
It's enough.
I make a motion, we move on.
I will second that.
We're moving on anyway.
All in favor?
Pack property, lease, and parking.
Okay,
I don't think we have.
Bruce, and I had a conversation with, Matt Service with Railroad yesterday. A couple other people joined us, Bo Chance and someone else that's been involved in this. We just wanted to, know how to proceed, know how the train, or if the train was going to, be involved in this. Mr. Smith, or Matt did say that he would take it back to, I guess, his officials or CEO or whatever, but from what we understood, they are not interested in leasing the property, they're not interested in, doing anything with us, helping us on the lease. He did say that they would, or I asked him if they would direct their people to that area if the city leased it. He said that he would. I did tell him that we were going to proceed with the limited parking, so they would need to, you know, this would be an alternative place for them to park. So really, I just need to know, we know that they're not going to help with anything, so we just need to think about whether or not we want to pay $2,000 a month and all the, and you know, and clear it off, and then possibly charge. He did say that he didn't have a problem with charging, that if we wanted to charge, Bo had presented or fixed us a graph, you know, on 80,000 customers. Even if only 25% of them had a vehicle, we charge $5, $3, $1. We could recoup our whether it be $1, even if it's $1, we most likely could recoup the $24,000 it'd be to the city. May take a while to recoup what we have in it for the clearing. So really, it's just some things out there for y'all to think about. I think it would be a good thing. I think we could charge. We could charge for the parking we have now by the gym, and we could charge for all the other. They would be responsible for a shuttle, and I understood, well, I didn't understand it, but someone else in the meeting understood and say that they would shuttle their people because they had older folks, and of course the city couldn't assume that responsibility, but I would be in favor of leasing and then charging to recoup the lease costs back. But again, we would have to do the whole thing for it to be effective, all of the parking over there, and probably continue limited parking to the very end of West Main Street. Now, I also got, Bo knew someone that was doing some work for him. We went down and looked at the property to see what it would cost for the grading and getting it ready. This person can get to it quick. We may have to put it out to bid or get some quotes on it, but he can do it quick. Says it would take about a week to 10 days to clear, about $1,200 a day for the equipment, So looking at may run anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 to do the clearing, but then of course we would still have the expensive silt fence, gravel, and whatever piping for the wet areas. So if you look at it on the satellite view, it's 5 to 6 times the size of the existing lot. So of course it's going to hold a lot more parking spaces. You know, this person's thinking that, you know, gravel everything is going to run us about $20,000. Now this is just one person, you know, we don't know for sure, but, and then the storm drain work that we may start on piecemealing could possibly, it could tie into that too. So anyway, not really asking for anything, a motion on this, just something for everybody to think about. Do we want to enter into a contract with PACS?
Well, I think we made a motion to do that already, to enter into a contract.
Well,
to
we
get due
no.
diligence on a
I
contract.
mean, and David said that we should, that wasn't, motion wasn't really correct, so
But
we
his
could change
motion
it.
says 6 months, and we talked about 6
Well,
months.
I made
Do you
it
want
actually,
6 weeks
yeah.
or 6 months?
Well,
is my
it was for
question.
due diligence, and so we're not even
So
talking
do you
about.
want 6 months?
No.
That's what David put in his.
Well, I've not even looked at that yet, so.
Actually,
so-
my motion.
Just telling you, that's what he put in there for 6 months.
Well, he
And I thought
maybe
we really wanted
misunderstood
6
me.
weeks.
Yeah, he may have
Okay.
misunderstood that we talked about 6
may
weeks,
have.
but the biggest thing is my thing is why do we need to go into a contract to do due diligence?
No, no, no,
Before you
that,
start
that
spending
wasn't
money,
what it was.
so
It's, if you enter into a contract, they can't sell it to someone else. Because when I talked to Lisa yesterday, she said until we get a signed contract, we're open to do anything with it.
Well, that's not what
You
they
don't
told,
want to-
that's not what
you
they
don't-
told us.
Well, that's what she
They
told
want-
me.
They want us, so.
So I'm just telling you, Angie, with a contract, you
Okay,
enter
do I have a
in-
motion to continue?
Yes,
I'll
I
make
make
a
a
motion.
motion.
Do I have a second? Okay, so,
So basically, when you enter into a contract, you want to
I
have,
think everybody raised their hand.
you want to have an agreement with them so that someone else can't come in and, you know, purchase the property or put it under contract. So you want to get into a binding agreement with them with a due diligence period. The due diligence period just simply means that during that time, you can back out of that contract if you come across issues like, you know, the drainage issues down there.
Or
So, but you
EPD
do,
issues,
yeah,
which I'm concerned about.
you do want to enter into a contract with them, that way they can't sell it to someone else or, you know, whatever. So I suggest highly that we enter into a contract with a 6-week due diligence. That's what my motion was.
And I have no problem with that, and we'll, contracts have to be approved by the city attorney, so we'll do
Yeah,
that,
like,
but I
I mean,
still want,
Is he
I
doing a
still want.
contract? Have y'all talked to him about a contract? Has anybody said, let's get one started?
I've discussed it with him, and that's what he sent back. I've not looked at it, but we still need to. I mean, if we don't need to drag our feet on this. If we're going to do this, we need to do it. So, you know, due diligence would be what?
6 weeks.
I
I think if you get a contract.
what is it that you're wanting us to do here?
Well, that way Todd and Lisa are committed to us too.
They
That's
are
what I-
committed to us.
Well, I think you kind of want it signed.
I want
Well,
them
and that's
to-
fine,
I want
but,
them to enter into a signed contract.
Okay,
is what
that's
I
fine,
want.
but, okay, we're gonna go into a signed contract, and then we still got to make a decision. Do we
During-
wanna do this, or do we not?
During your
I think
due
you do that during your 6 weeks, once you
During-
decide what it's
yeah.
gonna cost you, once you get your firm numbers.
Like, say for instance,
Okay,
you're
well,
buying,
and that's what I'm talking about. I'll
Yeah.
give you some numbers, we can get some more numbers.
Yeah,
And
I
so
think-
I'm wanting the council to just think about, do we want to even waste their time on due diligence if we are not willing to pay $2,000 a month? Because I've just talked to the train,
think
they're not willing to help. So we don't need to waste
I
our
think they were
time.
willing to do that before. I think they made that motion that they were willing to spend $2,000. I think that was already done.
No, I don't believe so.
Well, I think we all understood that we'd be spending $2,000 a month lease. I think they
No,
let us
I
go
think,
with the
I
lease
think, I think
amount.
I recall very clearly what I said, that we wanted to make sure that that's what we want to do. Do we want to assume the
Okay,
whole?
let's
the
ask,
whole
are
cost?
y'all interested in paying $2,000 a month? Because I think y'all made a motion, y'all
think
wrote
we
down.
No, we did not make a motion.
yes, I am fine with that.
So does anybody have an objection to the $2,000 a month, I guess is the question. Are you fine with it?
I'm okay, I just hope that we can get a little help. That's
How
what we
about
talked
you?
about.
Are you fine with the $2,000 a month? Were you fine with that, Harold? So I think everybody was in agreement to the 2,000.
Well,
I think they just
I
wanted
had
to
suggested,
suggest.
I don't know
some
what
help,
everybody
but
was
I
in
don't know if
agreement,
we
but
get
I had
Well, you can
suggested.
get that by putting up parking anyway, whether the train helps or doesn't help. You've got enough visitors that are gonna be coming from all these festivals, and you've already got the 300 parking places at Temple that are gonna go
We
away.
just have to do, we've got to do
So-
something, we're not backing up, we're going forward, so.
Well, but there again,
The only-
we wanted to, and as I told the guy, the gentleman, and I think everybody agrees, you know, this has brought something to surface that hasn't been talked about a lot, but there's a lot of people that think, hey, should the city really have to pay for a for-profit company parking spaces? Walmart does. We don't. I mean, we do for our local, you know. But we're talking about 80,000 people. So those questions are in people's mind and should be in our mind. But then again, if we can recoup that back from paid parking, such as y'all suggested all over the city, in this one area, you know, then I don't think that'd be a problem. And the guy said that he didn't have a problem with it. So we didn't discuss all that at the last meeting. We discussed
the $2,000.
We discussed other people, other interested parties helping in it. And that's what we needed to find out. So that's what me and Bruce done. We took it upon ourselves to do it, since we were the ones that's pressed forward on this. So now if everybody now is saying that they don't have a problem with the $2,000, hey, that's great. I didn't, and I'll go back and listen.
I just want to say I thank you too. I mean, if it weren't
You're
for you two,
welcome.
the city just wouldn't operate. So
Well,
thank
well,
you,
let
thank
me
you
add
both.
One
You're
more
welcome.
thing,
Thank you both.
I have a question, Matt. The one thing I know that when we talked about the property, you said because of the water, we would have to do some permitting. So are we gonna proceed and let Matt help us with, because y'all have looked at it. You've had your EPD expert kind
We've
of.
looked at the storm drainage ditch down to Coors. We didn't look at that back property where I think y'all were talking about, and I've not looked at it in detail, but I know there's at least a storm drainage that crosses the railroad tracks that goes to that property, is my understanding, but,
So that'll take some permits.
Well, first of all, Donna, you don't have to get permits to use your property for parking or any other thing unless you're building within a setback. So, you know, I mean,
Well, the problem is it's pretty wet. As I called Matt last week, was it last week?
we know
that
where it's wet
discussed
because
it?
we've walked
So
it.
okay. So what are your thoughts on it really as far as during due diligence? That we don't want to get there and have to end up spending like $300,000 with EPD permits.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
it could require core or EPD requirements or permits, but that, I hate to do this to you, Roy, but it falls back to the local issuing authority to make that decision. It's not my call, and with Blue Ridge being the local issuing authority, it would take Roy probably making a determination as to whether it is a state waters or not. And if it is a state waters, then it falls up under the core and EPD's jurisdiction as to what you do with it, and therefore the buffers. And typically in Blue Ridge, Fannin County, it's 50-foot buffers, I believe, isn't that Roy? Right, Roy? For trout streams is the designation countywide for the most part. So you have a 50-foot buffer to work around, and if you were going to pipe a ditch, if it's a state water, you would have to get that approved through the Corps of Engineers. But I have not seen anything on that property.
Did they not determine that as state water because we were having to monitor the temperatures down there too at one time? Yes. Yeah, because that's where they moved our monitoring site, you know, and that caused us some problems, so.
Well, this could tie in those areas, and we're talking about 6 acres, so you know, I mean, we can clear part of it, not clear part of it, clear all of it, use part of it, you know, that's usable, not deal with the wetlands. It was a ball field, so goodness gracious, there's a lot of it that's not wet. It may be wet now because it's grown up, but, you know, I mean, once it's cleared out, I'm sure it's not gonna be a problem. So we just need to, you know, and it may help the property owners, you know, help us fix our drains, you know, by going through their property, because it's gonna have to. At some
No
point.
doubt all that concrete in there is blocking some of the water flow, I do feel
Yes,
like. So
yes.
there's
That's
all
got
kinds of
bunches.
disposed concrete
Yes.
down there.
If we have a,
It's bad.
if we have a 6-week due diligence, will that give you time to get in there and kind of, and work with Roy to see exactly what an estimated cost would be for all this, and then how wet the property really is, and, yeah.
Well, there needs to be some grading, so regardless, our due diligence, we're gonna have to put out some money to know. So, you know, that may be something at the next meeting, you can decide, do we want to proceed on and let somebody get in there and do some grading in that area, just get it cleared out? I mean, come on, let's be real, we're gonna be able to use some of the property, so, you know, so let's just move forward and let's think about going ahead and, getting someone in there to clear it out, and then we can better see what we've got to do, because it is a mess. It's a mess in there.
We could pull up just an option. We could pull up maps that show wetland areas, wetland inventory map, stream buffers maps, and go ahead and block off areas where we would suggest you stay out of for the temporary. And the areas that look to be clear from any wetlands or streams.
Yeah,
we can
because
go
you
ahead.
really don't need heavy equipment down there,
No, and we-
because you could get fined up to $25,000 to $50,000 a day if you interfere with some of that, so.
And we could give you a map that
Yeah.
shows the areas we feel like are clear,
Okay.
Yeah.
that there's no questions on.
So could you give us the acreage on that kind of too, so we can actually see what it can calculate to?
Yeah, we can do the maps pretty quickly.
Good.
I think within a week I have you all the
So-
maps back.
Are we needing a motion?
No, we just something for us to think about, and I know, there's a lot of people that would like to see this happen quickly, so.
I'll contact David Siphon today about what the motion was last week and moving forward with that contract too.
Okay, great.
Storm drains.
Storm drains, as I talked about the last meeting, because the flooding was brought up, and I understand that some of that flooding was on private property, so we really had nothing to do with that. But, I've looked back at the task release and the different things that was paid. We've got, we've got Stevens and Palmer, where we paid to do some work or some advice or something. We've got Hampton. So we have been just talking about this. We stopped on it, as I was talking to Matt, we stopped on this, and when we approved the task release in December 17th, 2015.
I think that's the master services agreement. There should be a date on the back of when that actual tax release was.
Well, anyway, that was about the time, it was January 5th, 2016. And that was about the time we was pressing for you to get the East Main Street stuff, because we wanted to get it started last August. So we didn't have the money to continue on this, and still even today, it's $650,000 is what this one says, plus around about, close to $100,000 on engineer fees, which we have already paid about, 60% of that?
Yes.
Okay, so, but still, I'm still more in favor of just beginning behind the co-op and going on down to the open ditch on the PAC property. And I just wanted Matt to actually be here and explain a little bit better that is probably the more troubled area, or the worst part of it, and probably the least expensive. So Matt, if you want to go ahead and
Pass those around. This shows a map of the project area that we've talked about up to this point and what we looked at originally, but you'll see the legend over on the right-hand side lists out the pipes or boxes for each section. And if you look back past the co-op, section 12 is the 48-inch corrugated metal pipe. That's right before you get in the coolers. That is the smallest pipe in the whole. You'll see some of the smaller pipes that feed into this main trunk line, but on the main storm drainage line, the 48-inch there toward the end is one of the main bottlenecks of this area, which is causing water to back up on further up back toward downtown. But most of these pipes or boxes are undersized, or what we would propose to increase in the overall project. But that 48-inch at section, the little 12 circled, is one of the worst areas where it's obvious. You've got 60-inch and larger pipes feeding into a 48-inch pipe. And that's all piped, so it starts backing up, and I would imagine that starts overflowing the co-op ditch, and then works its way back up toward the downtown, where it overflows the ditch at Roberts Way and Mountain Street, and then backs on up further across the railroad tracks over toward the Country Stitches store.
well, if we did do this, it shows right here around about number 12.
Yes, ma'am.
What if we just went on out a little bit further, instead of going that route across private property, went on out and then come through where the wet area is on the PAC property? Because the wet area, right here's McClure's, I believe.
That's right.
All right, the wet area is just right to the right of that. Remember, Bruce, y'all walked down in there. So what if we come on out this way, come on out and then cut this way? Would there be any way by piping that, or could you do anything where, there's probably some wet springs in there. Is there anything that you can do that would get the water into a drain instead of surface into the ground, and get that wet out of there?
I'd have to look at what you're talking about on the wet area, the spring area, but we can sub a pipe out to catch that and put it back into our pipe as we go through it, but we can rework any of the piping configuration on.
So I was thinking if you come right on out through here, and then cut right through here, and then right here's where it goes back into that.
Now,
This is what
the only problem with it is we have, both McClure's and our property has tanks on it, the above
Yes.
ground, and then there's an underground on that McClure's property.
Yeah, and I don't know what all, the
Yeah.
Cooler seems to go
There's
back a
an
little
under-
distance, I don't know.
Yeah, there's
We'd have to go around
supposedly there's an
there.
underground tank over there, I'm not really sure.
Well, if you went along the back side of the property there, that, you know, so if you went along right through there, and then cut down, you can bypass and all that, and then cut down right through there like that. This is the wet area in there too. This is the wet area that y'all are in there, Bruce.
It's right up here.
Would that require a public easement?
Yes,
Because there's none there now, right?
we don't know of any easements,
Well, it runs along property lines all the way till it gets to going into Area 12.
right, and,
Area 12 is on private property.
yes. And any rerouting would require new easements. Any work that we did in here, we'd either have to verify existing easements or obtain them for the new
Well,
work.
that's what would be good to me. We could get that, by doing this, if we win this lease, we could get.
Do we want a motion to continue?
I'll make a motion, we allow more, 5 more minutes on this.
Do I have a second?
I'll say.
And at least, even if you leased it, we'd still have to get the property
Right, have to get
right
the
away
easements on it,
from.
and they were gonna be probably a little bit more reluctant to do that.
Mhm. Yeah,
You
without
know,
the lease.
Yeah. Because it's gonna actually help their property too, I
And
mean.
like I said, I'm gonna just say that I've not looked at anything around McClure's to know exactly what it looks like. We've not looked at rerouting this pipe that direction, but we will again.
That big concrete basin that's there at the corner of McClure's and Alvin and Davies property,
That box,
that, yeah, that's 6 foot deep, right?
It's,
Over there.
That's north.
not by 5.
Is that there just to help catch some of that coming off of 76 up there too? You know, that pipe is pretty much just down from it. Are we trying to route that into that box? Is that the
Right
reason?
there in front of McClure's.
It's been a long time since.
Yes,
I've been down
yep. This is a section that is a section that feeds in, all of this feeds into that 5x5 box and goes out in front of McClure's to the ditch, and this discharge is there.
That little dip area carries a lot of water too during the rain, and it
Where it comes in,
difficult
yeah.
for the traffic.
And anything we move, we've gotta make sure that we tie back in any existing pipes that come into this. If there's a ditch there, we've gotta catch it.
But if we said today that we want you from the co-op, where the open ditch is behind the co-op, to redo all this, then what you would do is you would go in and get all this pipe up here, across this property right here. You'd have to get permission from these property owners, right?
Yes,
And you'd get all this pipe up, the contractor would get all this pipe up, and then you put the right size pipe in, right?
that's right.
And so it'd go, I mean, either way, you know, I mean, we can go through 2 property owners here, or we could possibly just go through 1 property owner here to get to this, but, you know, whatever y'all thought.
We'd have to look and see, right?
Yeah.
We would of course defer to your best judgment, so.
And
You
what's,
do know what you're doing.
and we'll look at the options with what permitting was required for each option, which are really expensive, but
Matt, when we looked at this before, you had actually been talked about bringing it to the front near the road in one corner. So were you still kind of thinking that might have been a better option?
we looked at that as an option, I think, based off of, trying to get it out from directly behind the building. It actually goes up under the corner of this building. The tank's in the way, we could potentially come out to the front of the road, but then we also have the sewer that's in the conflict up there that we have to also work around, but it's an option.
Well, I'm in agreement to go ahead and let's, whichever route he needs to go, I'm in agreement of going ahead and replacing this part. This is gonna be, that you say, probably the cheapest part of this whole storm drain.
It's the least invasive. Once we get up in beside the gymnasium, the workout place, up toward Mountain Street, Master Street, it gets a lot more expensive just because of the road work that's involved.
When I went down yesterday to look at the property in that Bow, and this contractor, Bo said that he has gone from where the Coke building was, and walked those drains, and I mean, got down and walked. He said there's like a washer in there, you know, so a lot of that stuff that's in there, I don't know if it could ever be gotten out without just taking the pipe out, but I'm sure is kind of.
How long ago did Bo walk through that? Because our guys were in there, what, a month ago? Maybe,
He
they
didn't
didn't
say.
see a washer or a
Well,
sofa.
that's just what he said, so, but
Regardless,
but he
yeah.
said that those pipes was like 1920 or something, so I'm sure that it is time to.
Well,
to change
that's why
them.
they've got dirt in the bottom of their skin.
Well, as I said at the last meeting, this has to be done. We keep putting this off and we can't put it off anymore, so it's got to be taken care of.
Well,
So
we're also,
whatever
but we're gonna, you know, we don't have $750,000, so I think the best solution here is to piecemeal, so, I would not be, does anyone have a problem with going ahead and approving for him to start on this section?
Do you mean to go ahead and start, like, putting pipes in?
A
The
financial
work, yeah,
question.
whatever he has to do toward it, yeah.
Well,
The easements, all that.
Do we need a price first, or
Well,
just?
I have a question first before you start
Well-
that. And we talked about using One Georgia money before trying to do the stormwater project.
G fund this way or
Yeah.
staying that way?
Well, I think we even talked to One Georgia about it.
I think we did, yeah, initially.
And they were interested in doing, they felt like, I think it was One Georgia, wasn't it? And ARC money has been increased, actually, you know, it's
That's right.
now 700,000?
750, 700, something like that.
750,000 or something like that. So, I mean, do we want to try to go after grant money? That's what we were gonna do before, and then that got changed, but it's a lot of money. I don't know that we have the money ourselves, or do we? I know that McCaysville just got their One Georgia money. Do we stand a chance, being in Fannin County, of getting One Georgia if McCaysville just got?
I would say so,
Okay.
but I said I don't.
And could we,
Politics behind it.
It's a little easier, isn't it? One Georgia,
One Georgia, yes, it is.
and the application's October?
I would have to check on that, actually. I'm not sure about the application date.
I'll make a motion to allow more.
Are you planning to vote on something today? Or is this gonna come up at a regular meeting?
I was-
Because I don't think the public has a voice in this meeting, and I'd like to have a voice at a meeting that I could put my name on the agenda and speak on it. Thank you.
Okay.
Actually, you can.
Nobody's giving me anything to speak today, I can tell you that, because I met with this man last November to put water down the side of the co-op building. I sat in here for an hour and a half and talked to him about it. We were gonna run a ditch or a culvert down the side of the co-op building, enter into the front of East Main Street and get into the ditch in front of McClure's. Now you're gonna go across that property where God only knows what's buried in that ground. Everything the EPA has ever heard of in their life is probably sitting there. And you're in a bag of worms as far as I'm concerned.
Now, which property is that? Which property are you talking about going across?
Uh,
The one that it already goes across?
All of it, McClure's and all of that property, from wherever number 12 ends, where you start at number 12 and go down to where you say you want to empty into the river, every bit of that's been industrial land for 50 years. I wouldn't want to open it up.
So you're saying just leave it, go back to where it was?
No, I said with the plan that we had last November, where he said he was gonna run it alongside the co-op, going east and west along the co-op building, and entering it on East Main Street, putting a culvert in there, and going in front of your building and going down to the river or the ditch at
Okay,
McClure's.
okay, and you.
That was what we
that
spoke
was-
about, and the city could do it because if they didn't have anything for their men to do over the winter, they had nothing to do, they could work on that. Or they could work on East Main Street. I was at the meeting, I heard it all. And we could we could do work on East Main or go down there and dig that ditch, and it never happened.
So basically then, we could, if that's right, Max, so you're saying we could go up the long side of the co-op, get on East Main Street, go all the way up to East Main Street into that open ditch? And that would
That's what he
probably be,
proposed
you're
to
gonna
me
have to do the
last
easements and all
winter.
that.
That was
So go-
a request from, I think, Rhonda's husband to get in front of that building
An easement in front.
to allow any expansion for that building. He suggested, can we go in front? So it's an option, and I think that's what we talked about, is possibly doing that in an effort to get an easement. I think that
It was
was.
supposed
That
to,
was-
it was
that
supposed
would
to,
be on ours.
it was supposed to
Yeah.
take the pressure off the system at that time. And you see what happened with the system this time. And as far as clearing the ditches out, my wife has a building that sits right on top of the ditch, and she never sees anybody go down in that culvert. So you tell me when they go down there to take that garbage out.
But now, that property right across from the co-op is the city property, that's
That's
a lot,
right.
that's it. So we could just cut right straight across there onto East Main Street, straight up East Main Street, because we got the right of way there, and tie back into that.
And it is a routing option. It's the same
That seems kinda same
principle,
thing.
same principle for any option is preferred method of which way we get there. And what conflicts we've got on East Main Street. If there's, I know there's sewer that we have to cross, but if there's any other utilities, then, but we're talking about easement. If we can't give them the right of way, we back up, and I think there was an option of being an easement across the front of the property, still
Versus
away from the
yeah.
front porch,
Yeah.
but maybe not in the right of way, which may be a little bit easier with utilities.
All those big sewer manholes are in the back of her property, so all of that's gotta run back there sometime.
They all cross.
You gotta go across
You
her
gotta cross.
property to hit those sewer lines.
Right.
I thought so.
Well, could you just come up with the most cost-effective for us? And as Rhonda said, you know, maybe we do need to get a price on it, of course, but then, if you could get us something, a plan and a price, then we can get you to go ahead and proceed and do the bidding on getting the work done.
Most cost-effective is likely gonna be back in the same exact spot, just because we know there's no conflicts there. We're not incurring any additional conflicts by moving it. We're going back in the same spot.
Okay. Well,
However,
I don't have no
on your property, it's up under the corner of the building, so we'd have to be off a little bit, but that doesn't help any future expansion.
Right.
I said the easement would still have to be acquired.
Well,
We
and
can look at
if you
multiple
go,
options.
if you put it in, does that mean that would restrict that property owner from being able to use that property? I mean, like build over it or anything?
Any easements prevent a permanent structure from being built on
Yes,
top
I
of
wouldn't
it.
want to do that, I was a property owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm saying, it may not be the most economical. If you're looking at the most economical way, it may be going back to the same location. We'll look at other options that may not be that much more expensive, but may work out better for everyone.
Well, I guess then, do we need to just wait and talk about this or approve this next meeting, or can we go ahead and approve for Matt to be working on this?
You've
Well, we
already,
actually-
He's already working on
you've
it.
already approved it.
Just this section?
We paused the design. We're gonna have to go in and design the whole thing, the size,
Y'all make a
everything.
motion to
And we
stop.
will
Okay.
break up the set of plans to show just that
Okay.
phase for,
Righty.
I think we actually made a motion to stop the work on the stormwater, so maybe you need to make a motion to start back, because I do think we stopped it.
We made that motion last week. I made the motion that we
Oh,
go
you
ahead
did?
and.
We've already
But I mean,
Decide.
from
Okay,
that
all right,
before.
that's good
Yeah.
then, okay.
get
Yeah.
back to started on.
Okay, of creating that playground, not pressing right now, but just think about, you know, how we are gonna proceed with that for later on.
So is that a motion?
No, just, that's it, that's all I have on it.
So I think we're done.
Anything
I
else?
wanna make a little statement here though.
Is it on the
Is it
agenda?
on the agenda?
Yes, we already talked about it. The road.
That's, we've
Whenever-
already talked
okay, I
about
just
that,
wanna
so
say
you can
when
talk
it-
to me afterwards.
Whenever I rode around,
Mhm.
I didn't see that, the shape of that road being that bad, being like that. And I'm just saying right now, what I've seen, now, I don't have a problem, I wanna let you know, I don't have a problem with that being paved. Any road in this city that needs to be paved, I'm for the
And
road to
since
be
you're
paved.
saying that, I'm going, you know, Angie said I'm going based on what Roy told me, that it needs curb and guttering, because it keeps getting, it's just like that,
There's a lot of walking
Melman
traffic.
property, that's where they had the bricks across. It's gonna keep doing that if you don't put curb and guttering. Sandy Wilbanks actually had a great idea. She said make it, instead of having to widen it, make it a one-way street, just coming up off of Ada Street, and it'll kind of circle around, and then you can put your curb and guttering without having to widen it. There are other things that can be done. She's coming to the next meeting. So, you know, I guess my thing on that is I don't want streets left unpaved.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't need.
We're not, we
We're-
know very
I don't need
adamant
to. And like I said, whenever I rode around, I didn't see it being in that shape
My
like
first
that.
4 years I was in office, we paved 26 streets. And the next time, I was not appointed a street commissioner, it's not my job. I'm
We
a
still have
council
streets
member.
left from that time.
Yeah.
Well, whose
We-
job is the
but
departments then?
we're not
It's y'all's job to
Whose
budget the
job?
money. It's your job to budget the
But
money.
whose job is it to oversee all this stuff?
You know
Since
whose
it's not-
job it is, Angie, but I can't do it if you don't allow the money for it. I can't go pave a street
And
unless y'all
the
allow
reason
money.
we have not paved residential streets is because we were saving $800,000 for East Main, which I've been involved in 3 streetscape projects so far. So for you to say that I've not
Okay, so-
done anything,
Are we ready to adjourn?
anyway.
Yeah.
And I helped
Do I have a
approve
motion
that.
to
Motion
adjourn?
we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
A second.